Alright, this video is going to incorporate a couple of different hobbies that I enjoy, so hopefully it'll be a good one. Basically, I've got this entry-level Marshall tube amp here, this DSL 40c, and the foot switch has no indicator like LEDs on it. I've got an indicator here. When you switch between the gain, I've got the classic gain is green, ultra gain is red, and on the reverb, there are no indicators at all. And because the reverb is so weak, there are times when I can't actually tell if it's on or not. So I'm going to try to add a red LED that indicates when I'm in ultra gain mode here on the channel select, and I'm going to try to add a blue LED on the foot switch when I'm in when the reverb is activated. So I'm going to give this a shot and see if I can figure it out and make it work. So let's get started. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is pull the back off this and see how the switches are set up, as well as determine the voltage going through them. Okay, pretty straightforward. Next we're going to use a multi-tester to determine the voltage because we need to figure out the voltage going through these switches so we can determine the amount of resistance we need for the LED so we don't burn them up. Alright, so what we're going to do here is use the multi-tester to actually test the voltage. Typically you would use this to calculate what you need for a resistor to power up your LED. So 10.2 volts is what we're getting. Okay. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is flip it over to continuity, which is just going to test the switch position and how it actually works with regards to sending power or making a connection on the amp switch itself. So right now, if you recall, I've got the amp basically on. I've got the reverb on and I've got the ultra gain channel on, and I'm not getting anything on any of the leads, so I'm going to flip them off. I'm going to flip the reverb off first, see what we get here. Okay, so the reverb is this sleeve. This is a ring. They call this tip ring sleeve. So when the reverb is off, the connection is made, and when the reverb is on, it's an open situation. So it's the reverse of what you might think. You know, when you kind of think of when you push a switch, it's making the connection, and that's what turns it on. In this case, it's the reverse. Okay, let's do the channel side. Now we should get the ring in the sleeve. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So these switches work in such a way that when they're in their, I guess you'd say, off state, or on the channel select when it's in the clean channel or the green classic gain channel, it's actually making the connection. When we go to the ultra gain channel, you're actually opening up the switch, so you're breaking the connection, and the same goes for the reverb. So we'll have to see how that plays out with the LEDs. I'm going to break into those next. Alright, so I've used site in the past is this one here. If you Google LED resistance calculator, you'll come up with a couple of different ones, and here's the address right here if you want to use this one. Basically, we know that the source voltage is 10.2 volts. Okay, so when you buy your LEDs, they're going to have a rating, and I got mine on eBay, so I'm just going to flip over here. So we know that the forward current is 18 to 20 milliamps, so I'm just going to put in there 19. Right here, this is the current. And then we have the forward voltage as well. And because we're doing the red, because I'm working on the gain channel right now, it's a 2 volts to 2.4 volts, so I'll just basically say 2.2 volts. And we're going to find the resistor for it, okay? So 470 ohms. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing for the blue one. So if we take a look here, the blue actually has 3 to 3.4 volts, so we'll basically pop that in here at 3.2 and we'll find that one. Okay, so that's going to be 390 ohms. Okay, so let's go back. We'll work on the red one now. I'm basically going to show you how to do one. I don't think you need to see both. Hopefully I'll show you the finished product if we get it working here. So 2.2, and we're going to find the resistance, 470 ohms. So, and real quick, I'll just run through here. I bought these LEDs on eBay. You know, you get 100 for $2.98 out of China. Okay, so I bought a slew of them. These are the various colors. If you're into electronics, if you want to do more of this type of thing, I mean, eBay is a great place to get it. So I got the bezel, 99 cents for 5. So I only need 2. But who knows where I'll put these things. I got 100 LEDs. Okay, so then the other thing I did is I bought these resistors, and I got 640 miscellaneous resistors, I guess you'd say. These are the various ratings or resistance values, I guess you'd say. And I got those for $5.99, all free shipping. So we're talking like $10 for this project. You know, it's really nothing. And then however many more LEDs I feel like doing. So it's really inexpensive. This is a great project. All right, I'm going to move back now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to wire up all of the LEDs sort of out of the, before I solder anything in, just to make sure it's working. Okay, so we ran into a little bit of a snag with the calculated resistance because on the channel select, the default state is closed, so the switch is making a connection. When we wired up the LED, I'm just using these jumper cables. I've got a breadboard, but it's probably overkill for this job. So I like these jumper cables. You can buy these again on eBay for like next to nothing, you know, a whole bunch of them. So when I used the calculated resistance, wired up the LED, what ended up happening was because we're again closing the circuit, it would not switch to the ultra gain channel. Because remember, the ultra gain channel, this would be the classic gain, and then the ultra gain is when we open up the circuit, and we're creating a circuit, or closing the circuit yet again when we're doing this LED thing. So what I ended up doing was playing around with a bunch of different resistance values, and I ended up with 4.7 thousand ohms, which is significantly more resistance than what was calculated. But it is working. The LED may not be quite as bright as it normally would be with the calculated resistance, but there's not enough juice going through the circuit to tell the amp to not switch channels. Okay, when we open up that circuit. Okay, so that's how that works. Let's test out the blue one. The blue one is the Reverb. And it came out to a calculated value of 390 ohms of resistance. And I've got my guitar plugged in because I've got no indicator light, and that seems to work okay. So let me just toggle over to that one real quick. Okay, so I've switched it over. I've got it over here to the Reverb. I've changed to the 390 ohm resistors, and this is a good way to do it really too, because rather than rip these all out, I'm actually going to play around with the brightness a little bit, because the blue, because I'm using so much less resistance, is quite a bit brighter than the red. And what I may end up doing is when I get the LEDs mounted on the face, I'll play around with different resistance values, because we're not going more voltage, we're going less, so they're not going to basically burn out. Okay, so let's give it a shot here. Okay, so you can see that's quite bright. And just to show you too, these LEDs, if you have one, when you get them, there's a longer leg, and that's the positive, and that's the negative. So the positive is the longer leg. Alright, so what I ended up doing was drilling a pilot hole where I made my marks, and then I used a 5/16 inch drill bit. These bezels are probably metric in size, diameter, but 5/16 seems to fit okay. Okay, so the way they work, they come with these little plastic cups that helps keep the diode leads separate, and then that sits in here like this. There's a little bit of tension, and then they came with a washer, actually a lock washer, and a nut. And so these are 99 cents for 5, so that's pretty inexpensive. Alright, what I'm going to do is get these mounted. First I need to determine which color is which, because I've set them aside. Get them mounted, and then I'm just going to hook them up, check the brightness of the two LEDs. I know the red is where it is. I may have to add a higher resistance to the blue just to dim it down so they match a little bit. Okay, a soldering master I am not, but this shout out goes out to Mike and Jamie because they know the real secret to my solder success. Okay, I've got this channel select side done, and it looks okay, I guess. So I'm gonna try it out before I move on to the blue one, or the reverb. Alright, so let's take a look here. Right now I'm on the clean channel. Now we're on the ultra gain, classic gain, ultra gain. And that LED is bright enough. I've got to touch up a little bit here on the black, where I must have nicked it with the drill bit or when I was taking off metal shavings. But in the bezel, you can see also reflects quite a bit of light. So I'm going to move on to the blue one. Alright, so let's take a look here. I'm just kind of going through this process. Remember, we have a 4.7K resistor in the channel select. And, you know, it's plenty bright enough. Right now I've got this on a 3K resistor. And you can tell it's a little bit brighter, especially dead on. Okay, but remember the LEDs also have a different forward voltage, so using the calculator they actually require different resistors anyway. So, but because of the channel select and the way that the circuit is open, we couldn't use the default. So I'm going to try the 4.7 on the blue and see if it puts us in the neighborhood of the same intensity. Okay, there's the channel. Okay, so for the channel select, I ended up using that 4.7K resistor. Anything less, and it wouldn't switch channels because it actually completed the circuit. So on the reverb, just for the intensity alone, I ended up using a 10K resistor for the blue LED. So let's give it a shot here. Let's do the reverb first. I've got the reverb cranked up on this because you're not going to get a big concert hall lush reverb out of this amp anyway. So this is max reverb. Actually, I've got it off right now as indicated by the light. Okay, click it on. So you can hear it. And it is it's a nice blue light there. Okay, let's do the channel select. Obviously we're in the clean channel. There we go. Hopefully this video has been helpful. Again, be careful if you're going to do this, but take your time. It can be done. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, or you happen to find this helpful, give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you want to see more. Good luck.